The tone is gone.
Oh, I muted myself. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Three Docs Podcast Book Club. And we are so happy to have you join us. And Dr. Helga Venus is with us today. And such interesting times, such an interesting book. And we both found out so much to discuss when we're reading this text. I hope that you're able to invite your friends and share this if you have this book as a school assignment, or if you're just interested in politics and how people line up and all that good stuff. So welcome. How are you doing, Dr. Venus?
I'm doing great. And you?
Yeah, enjoying. We're finally getting some rain here in Texas.
Yeah.
And
urgently needed.
Yes, much needed. All right, here we go. So this is episode 21, and we are at the end of our books, all of them. And this one is called Uncivil Agreement by Lilliana Mason. And it's been a very good run. And I'm kind of glad we saved this one for the end because it's so current. It's current and yet it's not. And we'll get more into that later.
Yeah, but, and it explains so much of what's going on nowadays. So if you're wondering, read this book. You may not agree with it, but read this book. It will open your eyes as to what's going on in our politics these days.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, this whole adventure started about 6 months ago when we both saw Daniel Pink's 21 books list that changed his life. And this was one of the books. And we've gone through all of them, but save one. But we've gone through all of them and discussed the things that were interesting to us. So this is not exactly a summary, but this is just a discussion of what was interesting. But first, let's talk about what Daniel Pink said about this book.
Okay, well, the slide is changing my font. So, all right. So, yeah, it's weird. I changed it to fit into the frame, but somehow it just doesn't want to stay there. So,
okay.
But anyway, Daniel Pink says that this book will help you understand the mess of American politics. And it's so true. It is a great companion to The Righteous Mind. What is really driving politics today is identity. We want our tribe to win. And we might even support policies that might hurt our interests if they are advocated by people who are similar to our identity. So in this country, the fiercest disagreements are less about warring political policies than about two distinctly political tribes, one mainly white, mostly religious and not living in cosmopolitan urban areas, and one that is less white, less religious, and almost always in cosmopolitan urban areas. This is a tough problem to solve, but there is a solution. Politicians who appeal to our higher identity, our shared identity as Americans, and what we all have in common. So, I'm not so sure about the separation by races and separation by white and other ethnic groups. To me, it's more or less, it's just one party against the other. And that has been going on for decades. So it's the polarization to a tribe, as he says, and winning is all that matters.
Right. And this really caught our attention as we were looking at the books that we wanted to read and discuss. So we have a few points that really popped. And so, Dr. Venus, you get to go first.
Yeah, so we have the in group and we have the out group, and that is something that you can easily observe in all walks of life. You know,
Mhm.
you see that in school, you see that with children, you see that with grown-ups in the workplace, you see that everywhere, onesies and twosies. They usually don't much have an association, but as soon as you form your little group or you are accepted into a group, that's when it starts. The us versus them thought processes. And that
Mhm.
is, like he says, victory over policy. It doesn't matter anymore whether you agree with your own policies or not. The main thing is my party has to win. So,
Yeah.
and issues become less important than getting something done, coming
Right.
to a compromise and working things out so we can move forward. We rather stalemate it. So, in the second point I was going to make, it, of course, that has to do with emotional volatility, like the author says. Sordid, she calls it sordid partisans experience more intense anger at political losses and more intense elation at wins, which drives activism but also fuels hostility. Just think of January the 6th.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So you're really jumping right in there, aren't you?
Yeah,
Well, it's emotion, and it's so funny, when I first learned about meditation and thoughts that come into your head and how you react to them, and whether you're emotional about them and they distract you, or if you just focus on your breathing, that's all I'm talking about. Nothing really
mhm.
spiritual, but you can get distracted when you have emotional volatility.
Yeah,
And so many times when you're if you're insecure in yourself, you kind of take on the identity of the group that you're with, the people that
yeah,
accept you.
yeah,
And I think there, as far as a human thing, I get that. I understand because uh, when I have insecurities, I know that this is my family and these people will protect me.
yeah.
So I,
And you know, as a teacher over the 20 years in school, I've come to appreciate the teachings of love and logic. It's a father-son psychology team that deals with that. Don't respond out of anger. Um, Calm down first. Think about what you want, what you really want to say, not what comes first to mind because you're angry. And the social emotional learning theories teach the same things. Before you respond, pause, take a break. Is that really what you want to say? Are you
yeah,
really the right frame of mind to say anything at all? Just wait a little bit. Or you can even say, we teach our children to even say, right now I'm too angry to respond, give me a minute.
yeah, right, right, yeah. To acknowledge the emotion, but not just knee jerk.
Now in
Yeah,
reacting.
absolutely. All right. Next slide.
Okay, the outrage and elation about partisan sorting, that just spoke to me. Threats to group status lead to angry and insulting reactions. This is what we see in our demonstrations, which
Yeah,
then lead to higher assessments of group status, which cause threats to have even larger effects. Our anger and enthusiasm are fueling each other. Anger and enthusiasm are the primary drivers of political action and not thoughtful processing of information. So it goes back again to social emotional theories and love and logic. Participation in politics is necessary for a functioning democracy. And the author does speak of a time when Americans were very apathetic. They would not participate in politics because they were frustrated. But
Yeah.
now what we see reoccurring in the in nowadays is we are participating, but we are participating with a lot of emotions and anger and frustration and not focusing on the right things. So and that's what she's saying. Participation is not that valuable. It's rather the makeup of the electorate. An increasingly sorted electorate is more homogeneous and is made up of a deeply concerned citizens. However, these participants care more for victory than highly erratic cross-cutting voters. Cross-cutting voters provide more flexibility in voter preferences. And what she means with that, taking a look at what does the other party offer? Is there something that's useful? Is there something that makes sense to me? And belonging not to one homogeneous identity in terms of partisan ownership, but belonging different ethnic groups, different religions, different backgrounds, that leads to a better outcome than all of one homogeneous group.
Right. Because they have different perspectives.
Yes.
They might be able to see some more positives in a certain specific decision than we might be able to.
Yes.
So, yeah. And also participation, let's see. You don't want one giant group. Oh, I just lost my thought. You don't want one giant group with nobody participating, right?
Yes, exactly.
And just, you still don't want one giant group with only the fringe people acting. You know, because someone's going to fill that void, and someone's going to step up and act. You want the thoughtful people that perhaps, if I say the word moderate, it won't trigger anyone, but not the fringe, but the more moderate mainstream.
Yeah.
To me, that's what I took from it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's say, and it was hard for me to just to consolidate some of these thoughts, because they're a little deeper quotes that I wanted to put, and I didn't want to just condense it into a soundbite. But so one way, and forgive me, I'm going to read this. One way that outright partisan prejudice may be addressed is for the parties themselves to establish new norms for partisan behavior. Putting aside for the moment how or why they would do this, scholars do know that what group members think of what others are thinking may play a key role in influencing intergroup relationships and perceptions. So, in other words, if group members believe that other in-group members are tolerant of an out-group, this can turn into a more broadly tolerant approach toward the opposing team. So if you and I are on the same team, and I think that you have a moderate idea of you can tolerate other ideas and not get triggered by them, then I can, since I trust you, you're on my team, then I can do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really good to know that we can influence our group, just the people around us. We can influence them by being just who we are and listening and not being triggered all the time.
Yes, and that goes along with the cross-cutting, allowing other thoughts to come in, other perspectives, other moderate people to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe they have a point, instead of fueling controversy with anger and emotions, and we all think alike, and let them have it. So
I just wish that people, I think listening is the best skill that anyone could ever develop.
Yeah.
And this is just popping up in my mind because, and I know it's very simplistic, but so many times we're already thinking of our response and we hear just the big words that trigger us, and we just go with that, and we're not going to listen to what
Yeah,
they're saying or what they
yeah.
maybe
And
can't put into
that is
words.
one of the major points of social emotional learning theory is to you have to become a very good listener.
Yeah, that's right. Listening is key. All
Yeah.
right, so here we go. I also like, and I mentioned this before, I also like the connection of research to self-esteem. That when people link their non-negotiables with their party and take on that position, then they don't allow any room to disagree. So then
Yes.
they criticize their non-negotiable anchors. If there's something that you really believe as a person, then if you connect that with a group or a party or a partisan group, you can't ever disagree with them because you've linked your non-negotiable there. And I kind of learned this when I was going through my doctoral studies, where we talked about religion and education. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I at first I never understood why it should be why the other side of why people said, well, no prayer in schools. And so they linked God with the education system. So
Mm-hmm.
then if the education system makes some wrong decisions because they're imperfect, then you can't criticize it because then you're criticizing God
Yeah.
because you've linked them in your mind.
Yeah.
So the same thing with self-esteem. If I criticize something or someone that I've linked with my own personal self-esteem, then I'm trashing myself.
Yes.
I
Exactly.
disagree.
Yeah. 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 And then it becomes a win at all cost, whether it makes
Right.
sense or doesn't make sense anymore.
Right. Absolutely. So because I have to save face in
Yeah.
terms. Okay, so now if their own party linked with race and race and religion, which are some anchors in personality and groups, if the party does something undesirable, then you're less likely to seriously consider changing your vote in the ballot booth. Well, I'm not going to vote against that because I believe a certain way. As
Yeah.
people grow more thwarted, which is divided, they're less likely to split their ballots or to vote for an outgroup partisans in addition to in-group. So their vote, and bringing this down to a electorate kind of decision, they're less likely to vote against something that their own group has
Yes.
decided. Let's see. So, okay, and this is more emotional thinking, like you were talking about social and
Mm-hmm.
emotional learning. When a nation changes from one made up of many cross-cutting identities. So, from the beginning of our nation, there were people from other countries that were coming together to make a new country. So they had identities that were different and cross-cutting, and we were not two solid blocks. The result is an electorate that is, on average, more angry, excitable, and active than it was before the social shift. So when you become a huge, heavy oil tanker, people get more excitable and angry than if someone is just a little bit different than us, if that
Yeah.
makes
Now,
sense.
now here, of course, I do have to interject a thought that has occupied my mind for as long as I live, because this is contrary to, and I think now I understand it more because it's the in-group versus out-group, because we have so many countries that that are really composed of so many different tribes and sects and ethnic groups, and they have been warring against each other as long as they existed. So there has been no peace. And I always said or was of the opinion, that's because in-group, out-group thinking, my group is better than your group, my religion is better than your religion. Because of this, the groups within themselves are more homogeneous, and therefore they have all that infighting. Whereas when you grow up in a country that is in itself homogeneous, like Japan, like we were in Germany many moons ago. We had everybody abided by the authorities because that's how we grew up. That's just what you do. No one questioned it. So that's just our culture and the way we live. But then as soon as you start intermingling, you get all this, well, we do it this way, well, we do it that way, and this is better. And we don't want to do what you do. And there it starts, on a small scale, which at some point in time it explodes. So the big question here is when is cross-cutting becoming divisive and dangerous?
Yeah. Good question. And you don't really know until you're in the midst of it, I think.
Yeah.
And I think also it goes back to the emotional content of that cross-cutting event. There are times when, as a teacher, I've taken students out to a ropes course where very different children were in that. There were some in the brainiacs and some of the athletes and some of the nerdy kids and some of the uncoordinated kids. But we went to this ropes course, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a physical agility course where you climb high things and you walk across ropes and hang on, and people cheer. And there are some tasks that you can only do with 2 people, or you can only do with 5 people. And so it requires people to work together that may never work together at all. And so the beautiful thing is that we had to climb this telephone pole that was 30 feet high. And when you get up to like 10 feet, that is, mind-blowingly high for some people. They've never climbed that high before, but you're still going up. Of course, you're protected and you got all the gear on.
Yeah.
But everyone around at the base of that pole is cheering people on, and they're saying, "Yeah, you go, you can do it." I got emotional watching all these kids cheering for each other. And by the end of the day, they saw each other in a different light, and the class was so much more cohesive.
And I think that's one of the principles of management, of course, is the team building spirit. That's what you see happening in the Army. It's not what you do as an individual; it's what we do as a team.
Absolutely.
You see that in a lot of corporations. If someone subscribes to that versus everybody against everybody. So and maybe that's what we should learn from that. With the 2 parties that we have now, maybe we should learn how can we do teamwork and move the country forward instead of you versus us.
Absolutely. And that's also when people, when you see someone so then they become a group, a cohesive group that gets things done. And then when they see someone in their other group being empathetic or reach out to someone else and show kindness to other people, and maybe someone from in another group, then that is easily accepted by the team. And so I think that's and that's true leadership for me, is doing things that are safe for your group, which is also reaching out and encouraging others and other groups too. Yeah. So that was something that really spoke to me. And then I kind of cheated. I added one more slide. So we know that humans are hardwired to cling to social groups. And we
Mm-hmm.
read a couple books, Biased, Jennifer Eberhardt, I believe was the author.
Mm-hmm.
And she pointed out that our brains are wired to simplify what we see so that we can sort and understand the world around us. And so we may simplify certain facial features or certain something with connections to events in our lives so that we can categorize and understand how the world works. So, also, rule makers and rule breakers, you have tight societies and you have
Yeah.
loose societies. And so, as we are categorizing in our tight societies, we see other people, we have to understand how they're working and understand their motivations in order to categorize and whether to know whether we accept or whether they match with what is safe for us or what is danger for us and things like that. But anyway, I felt like this book really connected
Yeah.
well to
Yeah.
these would be good companion books to this one.
Yeah. And it's funny that we do come back to those two books all the time.
Yeah. And you know, if I can be totally honest with you, all three of these books were difficult for me to read.
Yes.
You know, I had to kind of calm myself down to try not to get all emotional and think, well, I don't agree with that. Well, just pause and breathe and understand what the author is saying. And
Yeah.
you know, they're still difficult to read, and I don't agree with 100%. But I did learn from these
Yeah.
books,
Yeah.
and I'm very glad we took on this adventure.
Yes. Same here.
All right. So, what is next for the Three Docs Book Club, Dr. Venus?
Well, we discussed, we want to do a summary, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
see if we can get some comments and
Mm-hmm.
even Daniel Pink to assist
Yeah.
us with his. I don't know if you ever watched an episode, but that would be nice to have him comment, or any of the authors.
Any of the authors. Yeah.
Yeah, would be
So
great.
we're working on our finale, our grand finale, and we hope to have that for you in 1 or 2 weeks. So keep an eye out for that. Um, it has been a really eye-opening and stretching experience for me, um,
Yeah,
and
it
I'm
was not easy to read that many books in a meaningful way in
right.
such a short period of time. Yes.
Yeah, it was great. It was really good. It was. I didn't think I didn't know if I could do it. I
Yeah.
envisioned myself reading but you never know what's going to happen
Yeah.
in the next
Yeah.
6 months.
Well, and you do want to do justice to the authors, so you don't want to rush. You want to take your time and process it and give it your
Absolutely.
absolutely objective evaluation,
Yeah.
if that's possible.
Hey, I just noticed in the comments we have someone watching from Japan. Wonderful.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, welcome. Give us
Yes.
your
Well,
thoughts.
so this is the Three Docs Book Club, and you'll find our play. Just search for Three Docs Book Club, and you'll find our playlist with all the videos. We're coming up with a summary in 1 or 2 weeks, and if you have book suggestions, just let us know. And this is streaming on LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. So thank you so much, everyone. This is Dr. Jackson saying goodbye, and we appreciate you.
Same here.
All right. And thanks again, everyone. Happy reading, and thanks for joining us. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.